Winterberg in Germany, its fourth Royal Cup of the 4-man bobsleigh season, and after 2 beautiful days of racing conditions, Sunday has dawned snowy and blustery. The second heat, 20 down to 1, about to go ahead. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Sitting alongside me is bobsled expert John Morgan. And John, Winterberg, it's 4 seasons in 1 day sometimes here. We've had beautiful conditions, but now we're paying for it with a pretty driving snowstorm.
Yeah, the weather up here can play havoc with the sport. First heat, look at this, Justin Cripps from Canada. He had a great run going, crashed in the finish, went across the finish line, they're in 10th place. He had Hefty, won the 2-man event yesterday. Doesn't like the 4-man event as much as the 2-man, but on this day, the city of sleds from Switzerland were flying on the bottom part of the track. He's in 3rd place, ready to challenge for a medal. Alexander Zubkov, this is the first time this year in 3 previous races in North America. Here, he's not in 1st place. It's the first time of the year he's lost a heat. But the Russians were still very happy with their descent down the Winterberg track. Here's the guy who beat him, Team Maximilian Arndt. Look how quickly they get in the sled here. Great proficiency at the start. On the bottom, he went 7th, Zubkov went 2nd, and Arndt narrowly pulled out a 100th of a second lead after 1 run down.
Well, Max Arndt, disqualified from yesterday's 2-man race, leads by the tiniest margin over 3-time winner so far this season, Alexander Zubkov. Kaylee Humphries came from behind to keep her record alive with a 4th win in the women's race yesterday. Beat Hefty won the 2-man race, so anything could yet happen. There's a massively tight group right behind the leaders, all the way down at the top 20. We've got some very close battles. The wind, the snow could all play a part. But John, again, the drivers have to combine the start and the drive to sheer perfection here to get a good run.
Taking care of the runners. They got some sandpaper there to take out the little nicks that the track imposes on those icy blades. Air temperature ice, the control steel. Now that they hang a runner at the top of the track, and that runner there, your runners have to be within plus or minus 3 degrees. Because if you don't, you get that hot runners, cool runnings thing, you get disqualified.
Well, the jury have checked all the runners beforehand. They have an electronic tag to make sure that they're made from the correct material. And all the sleds have been weighed and measured after the first heat. As we get into our second heat, here is the start list. Ivo de Bruin, the rookie from the Netherlands, will be first off. And David Kupczyk from Poland and Vuk Radjenovic also making it from outside the top 20 starters into the 20. Lyndon Rush had a disappointing run. He'll be 5th off the hill. But conversely, his teammate Justin Cripps barrel rolled into 10th place across the line. And he's in a fight, a very tough fight for a top 6 position. For the medals, well, you can't count out Floorschutz, but Hefty at the moment, Zubkov and Arndt, the leader, are certainly the front runners. But John, the snow hasn't stopped. The wind is still backing it and blowing it into the track and into the athletes' faces. So there's lots more work for these track workers to do.
But it's a great snow in regards to there's not wet, so it doesn't impose a vision problem on the drivers. You'll see everybody get out of at the bottom, and their visors will be clean. That's the most important thing, Martin. We've seen some rain here, Martin, that can really hamper visibility.
Well, lots of Dutch support here. We're only a couple of hours from the centre of the Netherlands. And Ivo de Bruin, Thierry Kruithoff, Bro van der Zijde, and returning Timothy Beck, who's been a real stalwart of the Dutch programme over the years. This is the crew of Netherlands too. Ivo de Bruin making his World Cup debut, 26 years old.
Impressive in the first run. Timothy Beck, he just came out. This team got in, get down. Look at how quickly they get down. The push bars are still out. That's a mistake. Speed on the left. I keep talking about the speed. They had 62.5 speed in the first run, but they were in the sled with no push bar issues around the first curve. That wasn't as good as his first run, the load in the sled. And that, Martin, is the whole race on this track. In curve 0, they call it.
Well, he'll be trying to move up. He's only 700ths behind the Polish sled that was quicker than him in the first heat. Now, of course, his top half of the track was very good. Got very loose from here on down in heat 1. Let's see if he can tidy up some of those mistakes.
Got a little bit more confidence in the 2-man. had some decent results. Good. Ooh, that's late off 9. Now it's a question is how late is he going to be down here? And if he has to carve, he has to steer harder. Once you make that mistake in 9, the personality of the track in Winterberg is always curve 9. That's where all the action is. And the first sled down, we saw quite a bit of action in curve 9.
Quarter of a second.
It's tough to get these 4-man sleds in trouble. But when you do, they can go sideways in a hurry.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight to get out of line. Quarter of a second slower than his first run, so he didn't tidy up mistakes, he made more.
Here's curve 9, watch, look at him, high dives, sled comes back up, comes back down, centrifugal force now, he's a little high there. Now he talks the right side of our picture, now he's in a skid into 10, and trust me, 80 miles an hour. Look at these pictures here, it comes down, and brings the sled, has to come back up, centrifugal force, and then he's out of control into 10, 11, and 12, and that'll almost stop your heart.
Dawid Kupczyk, the 34-year-old veteran from Poland, making his World Cup debut this season. He's been a regular World Cup contender, but didn't do the 3 races in North America, been racing in Europe instead. 19th after the first heat.
Well, again, I'm going to talk about how quickly they get in the sled. It's a very steep descent. Get in, get down, push bars around the first curve. Not bad. Speed should be 62 high on the left. 62.3, not that good considering the start. But there's a lot you can do with getting in that sled quicker and being settled before you get around what they call the 0 curve.
Well, he was 700s up on the Dutch after the first heat. Skid there, may take some of his 900s advantage away.
Yeah, he's got it up to 12. Much more experienced driver Kupczyk is than De Bruyn.
De Bruyn only started driving a couple of years ago. Kupczyk's been a World Cup pilot for nearly 10 seasons.
3 Olympic Games under his belt. Track and field athlete. Smooth line, smooth little tap there. 132, watch that speed in the finish. You'll see sleds into the 133 and the Dutch look on. Not bad for even De Bruyn. We're going to see a lot of improvement out here before the season's out of him.
Yeah, no question. He's a good successor to Edwin van Kalker. They've got a young program coming up behind their current star. Into the lead then, Dawid Kupczyk of Poland. One of the 2 Polish sleds here. Teammate Maciej Luty didn't make the second heat.
Here's curve 9. Look at the lines. He's pretty consistent around where you see the rest of the, the marks on the curve, and gets through there pretty good. A little skid right in the back end into 10. That's at 82, 83 miles an hour, 130 clicks. It's quick.
From Serbia now, Vuk Radjenovic. Again, like the Poles, the Serbs have been racing in Europe early in the season and waiting for the World Cup to come to them. It's cheaper than flying over to North America. 29 years old now, Vuk, married to the Australian slider Astrid Radjenovic. And they share a 2-man sled.
His father, Boris, the coach of the team. Vuk is pretty big, but he's getting in that sled pretty quick. Which, get in, get down.
He's got his feet caught, can't get in around the D-rings, he can't steer. So it's out of control into the first corner.
And his head's way up, he's still trying to find control. Now his head gets down. You shouldn't see more than half of that visor. He's got about 2/3 of it up. Okay, we always talk about aerodynamic profile and the way the athletes behind him sit. If we could see any of them, they are going to lose points from critiquing the way their aerodynamic presence is. You can see people back there. The black helmet is almost too up. Late, and he carves his way into the finish. Not going to be the fastest time. You're going to see Kupczyk move up here. Kupczyk got the second from the left. Not bad though.
Yeah.
Well, again, he finishes in the top 19 for him. And
disappointment with himself.
To start, the mistake around curve 0.
Yeah.
The reason we call it curve 0, they added that curve in 2008 when they rebuilt the track. So they didn't want to change the curve numbers. They just said call the curve 0.
Now watch as the driver gets in, John. He's got to get his legs around the side of the steering ropes, and he gets his spikes hooked up in them.
Yeah. They jump in that thing 200-300 times a year, and there's problems. Probably once every 25 times they do it. Look at all the movement around curve 0.
Well, it's rare that you see a driver unable to sit down in the first corner. Next up, Edwin van Kalkeren, Netherlands. 32-year-old pulled a hamstring in Whistler. 8 steps and in, allowing the team to do their best.
They should get down, but boy, we had schools out with them. Look at how high the 62.6, decent speed, but look at how high the number 2 and 3 guys are. Watch the way the heads are moving around. I don't think, now this is the tallest team in the competition. These guys average about 6'5", and I don't think they're comfortable riding in this sled. Look at the head movement back there. As we progress down into the top sleds, you won't even see heads moving around at all. Aerodynamically perfect. Look at the heads are all lined up there, but watch, you can see the little rattling around left to right, and that's energy going side to side. This sport, you want the energy to go.
Oh my goodness, late off corner 9. And that's one of the problems with having weight higher up in the sled. Gets flipped back up onto his runners. 122.3 speed there, but that's all rather immaterial. He comes across the line in 4th place. Drop down to the bottom, but yeah, lots of grimaces there. You can see Arno Klassen at 2.
Not happy.
Yeah, really got a belt from that. Simon Jansma and Yannick Greiner at 3 and 4.
Look at their left shoulders there. You can see that the left shoulder's fresh. That's an iceberg.
Well, Ivo de Bruyn and his crew are right there with them.
Yeah, this is very disappointing for Edwin. He's had the injury. He's trying to get points to hang in there. Points are very important for your ranking into the World Championships. Here, watch the sled come down, then has to go back up. And, boy, he just couldn't steer it around the back part of 9. He's not the first nor the last that'll tip over at curve 9. And watch the way it comes back up.
Ooh.
Hello.
Helmet's on the woodwork there as it gets flipped back up. That might have been what really rung Arno Klassen's bell as well. There's Simon Jansma.
You okay? He's seen that act before.
Yeah. Well, they've all been over before. Doesn't make it any nicer when it happens. And there's not a single man in the field that doesn't sympathise there where you see a sled go over. Nobody likes to see that.
Going to be a little delay now.
Not much of one. Lyndon Rush, 31-year-old Canadian from Sylvan Lake, Alberta, getting ready to go. Cody Sorensen, Jesse Lumsden was behind him in the 2-man, bronze medal yesterday. And Neville Wright, he slid with him in the teams competition. So they had 2 races yesterday with the women and the men's bobsleds, and the women and men's skeleton joined in as well in the teams competition.
A little bit of delay.
Well, this is probably the last thing that Lyndon needs.
They got some sweeping. So,
yeah, they get a bit of sweeping in.
Might, it's, you don't really know what is the right or wrong procedure. Mother Nature is playing havoc here with us in Winterberg. The last 2 days been spectacular. Track records in every discipline. Never seen the weather. Here's our sled. Maximum weight with weight's really important. There's a minimum weight of the sled, so the crew could be so big, but you still have to have a certain minimum weight. Ooh, that's not good. Entering the sled. They made that sled go left to right. Better start than the first run. 62.9 might be some of the better speed we've seen so far. Yep. Didn't have a very good first run from this experienced Canadian team who medaled last time out.
Well, Linda's just sort of struggled to put 2 consistent runs together, either in 2-man or in 4-man, pretty much all season long. Yesterday, the 2-man race went really well. I don't suppose he was overjoyed to see the snow this morning.
I said he medaled last time out. He did. His teammate Chris Spring did, who didn't even make the cut in the second run here.
Yeah.
100.8, that's good speed. I mean, there's no doubt he's going to be the leader unless he finds some way to go upside down here.
Well, this is a big advantage. Half a second in front.
Big speed.
That's
a good run. This is much
what he
better.
Wanted in the first heat.
He had a very poor first run. See, they look on, they know that's better.
Yeah.
55.60, 55.73 in the first run. So I don't know if there'll be too many people going faster in the second run than the first run.
Well, they may spend a little bit of time in a snowy leader's box. 15th.
Still had problems here at the start. If they let this go through curve 1, we'll see the little skid that they get. And the entry into the sled here, watch the guy on the right, he'll be in first. He's got to get in. Here's the speed before Omega. He's got the best speed. We'll see the top sleds go over 63.3, 63.4. Then they get in, but he made a skid out of
I'll be home soon.
No, you won't. You're going to France first. So next up, the big surprise of the first heat, Andy Niagu of Romania. Born and bred in Germany. His father runs the Bob taxi run service here, so he's probably had as many trips down this track out of competition as most of the other drivers have in competition.
Yeah, his father, Paul, 84, 88 Olympic team for Romania. The wall came down. He moved to Winterberg, set up shop, and here's his son, who's got a Romanian passport, and 14th. Boy, very encouraging for the Romanians. And if they come anywhere close to beating Lyndon Rush at the bottom, it's a pretty historic day.
Well, it's a great start for him anyway. This is his World Cup rookie weekend. And of course, the taxi bobs will be 4-mans as well, so that translates even better to what he's doing today.
But a taxi bob line, it's not the racing line.
He's not as quick, and the athletes are moving around a lot, or the guests.
Very smooth. This is as clean a trip as we're going to see.
Nice lines again. He's not going to catch Lyndon Rush.
Not many teams will come down this clean, but clean might not be fast. Sometimes the roughest rides are the fastest rides. There's Paul. There you go. Good job with your son.
Yeah. 56.01 slides. That is the second quickest that we've seen. So
top 15 finish. Give him credit. That's a
guaranteed. And there is always the option for somebody else to make a mistake and drop back.
Look at these lines. I mean, this is not the best piece of equipment. Look at the heads. The brakeman on the left's got his head tucked over to the left side, so he's not comfortable riding there in the Kreisel.
Well, that's a family sled. It'll probably be back to work on Monday doing taxi rides. Next up is another World Cup rookie. This is Alexei Stulnev. This is his first ever World Cup start in 4-man. 24-year-old from Moscow, but a hugely experienced crew of Russian brakemen behind him.
Pretty good at the start in the first run. See him get in, get down. Are they going to skid here out of curve one? No, probably should get near 63-kilometer speed, 62.8. Not as good as Rush at the bottom. And he had quite a hellacious ride at the bottom part of the track. You could see a lot of helmets dancing around behind him, so this sled isn't, these athletes aren't fitted perfectly in this sled, but you expect that out of the Russian 3. They change teams, the way you hack up a deck of cards. They're bringing athletes in left and right. This is the first, as you say, rookie debut here. And that's better through curve 9 than he had in the first run.
Drops behind Lyndon Rush for the first time in the heat. And you probably would expect that. This is a really solid run. 132.7 is good speed, 82.5 miles an hour. Just 800s behind. The Canadians move up another spot.
Lyndon Rush shouldn't be living in the back of the field. He should be living up in the top 7 or 8. So he could live in that box for a few more sleds.
Well, this was a fairly tight group of sleds that were in front of him. So Lyndon Rush's run may well put him further up the order.
Look at the heads bouncing around, the G-forces going uphill there. And we saw the Canadian sled tip over there. He turned off that curve there. 5th best speed. Look at the top speed. Yeah. The taxi bob specialist, Andreas Negu from here in Winterberg, that slides from Romania.
Well, we just had Alexei Stulnev and Andy Niagu tied for 14th. Now we have a tie for 12th place. First of the two sleds that's tied is Rico Peter of Switzerland, a 29-year-old. Starting what would appear to be his first full World Cup season in a while. Did all 3 North American races.
At the finish in this first run. They had some problems at the start. 5:28 start in the first run, 5:29 a tap there, 62 low, 62.1. I was saying, no chance. But on the bottom part of the track, he had 135-kilometer speed, which is one of the best. I think it was the best in the first run. So the Citius sleds are flying on the bottom part of this track, but they won't fly if he keeps taking curves like that.
Citius, of course, is from the Olympic motto, Citius, Altius, Fortus, higher, faster, stronger. That's the faster bit. And they really motor at high speed, John. This unique aerodynamic look to the sleds clearly works.
This is where the sled really starts to jet. Good lines, watch the speed, 133.8. That's better than Lyndon Rush, but I don't think it's going to be enough. No, fourth best time in the run, falls 2 spots back. And much better drive down the track in this first run than the second. Made a big mistake up on the exit of curve 3 to 4. Hard hit, but that's not allowed.
Nearly half a second slower on that run.
This is where you got to be quiet. Look at him come down, a little tap there, then watch, he comes up high in this curve. Watch the runner tips. That's a hard bang on the exit of curve 3, where you have to be very quiet with anything you do with the sled. You can't be hitting the wall.
Well, the second half of this tie for 12th spot was World Cup rookie Nick Cunningham from the USA, the 26-year-old from Monterey, California. Adam Clark, Andreas Dreibel, and Chris Vogt on the back of the National Guard sled. There's your leaders. I don't know where Lyndon Rush has disappeared to get a warm jacket, I guess.
5:24 start in the first run. They were starting as good as anybody in North America, but now, of course, he's driving a BTC sled. 5:19, 500's better. Speed, 62.9, some of the best speed we've seen so far. We keep talking about the start speed, then you have to get in the sled, get around that first corner clean. The good sleds will be 63.4, 63.3. Good lines here. Again, he was driving a Bodine sled in North America, so he's still getting familiar with this setup. 95 speed is good.
And you ask how different can the sled be? Well, when you drive a higher car and you can't find the windscreen washers or the turn signals, that's a minor insignificance. Here, the thing will feel utterly different.
Cunningham, last curve here, good lines, 133.5. So this is not a bad day for Nick Cunningham and an unfamiliar sled. He's only had 4 or 5 practice trips with it. Second best time of the run. The Boise State graduate. I'm sure he'll take that for his first 4-man competition in Europe with a different sled.
Exactly, and that's the key there. First time in Europe. He's only ever raced on North American tracks up until now. So Winterberg, he's now, spent 1 week here in his career.
Yeah. Here's the pivotal part of this whole race right here. Get in, get down before curve 1. Look at number 2, waiting for the number 3 guy to get underneath him. Hands come up, almost like in total cohesion. Something came off the sled there.
Not quite sure what that was.
That?
A little bit off the edge, maybe a bit of tape or something.
Well,
that start as well, 5:19. Whoa, Jürgen Lewacka, very quick off the top, not wasting any time because of the snow.
That's smart coaching there. Now, this guy's good. Watch the speed, 62 if he's lucky. 62.5, no, I was critical of him in the first run of his start and his start speed, but he was much better in this run. The coaches probably told his athletes, get in quicker, get the momentum, but he was flying on the bottom part of the track.
But he tapped it off the wall in corner 1, and so he will have lost some of that extra speed.
Another very experienced driver who can find ways to pick up speed. He's got a deficient start time to work with.
It's getting the line right.
Look at that. That's as good a speed as anybody so far. And this guy will get 134 and change. He'll take the lead. Oh, he's late there, but he's got the lead now, 133.7. Should be the leader. Oh, no!
One more spot, man.
Wow, 102 seconds. So, looking at the speed.
He was quicker than Cunningham at the bottom, so he must have just had to haul it off the final corner.
He must have been that exit of 11 or 12.
Well, you go steep uphill there, and that's where he lost it.
Let's watch the lines. Is he late there? A little late there. Now he comes in. A lot of steering here. Now the exit of 12. Look at the articulation of the sled. Look at the back end of the sled comes around. Little bit of a tap there. -1 to +1 in the last 100 meters.
There you go. Jürgen Loacker slips to second. Nick Cunningham looking at a top 10 finish, perhaps. But first, Justin Cripps of Canada, 25-year-old World Cup rookie. James McNaughton with him. Brand new brakeman Samuel Giguère flew in this week to join the team, and Jean-Nic Carrière. There's Cunningham and the rest of the National Guard team. And Cripps, of course, crashed at the end of the first run over the finish line. Can't get the start handle.
They should look at the clock. They should look at the clock.
They know
look
the
what
clock
the clock
is running.
says. How much time does he have now? He's got a minute to go.
It doesn't matter how long
will tell.
they've
He's got 38 seconds to go now. Yesterday, Max Arndt was disqualified because he went before that clock turned green. Now we have a mechanical problem. He might have. My suggestion is he just pushes without it.
He's going to have to, because they've got about
Coach
20 seconds left.
See, they're getting ready. Hey, 10 seconds. Oh, there it
There
goes.
we go. Now, the question is, will it go back in?
Deep breath, and let's go, boys. We got no time. This is definitely a distraction. Oh, they got plenty of time. They should have taken a deep breath and brought that clock right down. Eurotech, get in, get down. Good start in the first run. Good start again, 5:14. That's the best start speed, 63 flat. Justin Cripps has had a very impressive weekend. He had one good run in the two-man, not so good in the second run, but he's vying to be the top Canadian sled. I don't know if he's ever beat Lyndon Rush.
Well, at the moment, he's on the way to.
He's used to slide with Lyndon Rush. He's got a good line, good speed. Look at the heads, perfect. Exit of the Kreisel skid there, though. Slingshot effect on the exit of Kreisel will really rocket your time. Now, Curve 9 is a challenge. He gets through there with some very crafty steering. 10, 11, 12 coming up. It's good. This is impressive performance for this young Canadian. And he crashed there in the first heat.
Yes. Well, he got a tenth of a second more out of the sled, despite that massive panic when the driver's handle would not release itself.
They'll be excited. Listen, let's listen up. There's some personal bests, some PBs right there. Best ever for Justin Cripps. Boy, this is impressive. He really did well in the 4-man. He let this thing come down the middle of the track. Look at the, looks like he's almost airborne there. Maybe he got on there too early. Look at the form here. Look at the lines. He's a little above that line in Kreisel. Head's aerodynamic, perfect.
Yeah, team looked great in there. And he doesn't let it drop. He steers to hold it in the Kreisel and avoid that really late exit off corner 9.
Oh, some Germans.
Next up, Manuel Mahata, 27-year-old Bavarian, 4-man world champion in 2011. Where has that form gone? Wow, 5:20 start. We've got no times now. This could be a drama. The timing system records the athletes for posterity and also for rules, but it also provides the graphics for the TV. We don't have a timing screen working in the booth.
Usually we see something running, but they have a backup time on this.
Yeah.
So this is mystery. But boy, Justin Cripps just flew down this track perfectly.
Yeah.
So,
Mahata,
aerodynamic, proficiency.
Better out of corner 9. He fluffed that in the first
Look at number 2, though. Number 2 guy was leaning to his left. Carved perfectly up. We got...
it's still not playing the
any game.
Across the line he comes, tucks his head down underneath the cowl into the
mystery.
final corner.
There's the times. Okay. No. 5:19 start puts him in the lead.
55.50 is the slide.
Mother Nature playing havoc with our clocks here, but he had a
great work by Swiss timing in under a minute to fix the issue.
55.50. He had a 55.40 in the first run. 1000 slower.
But again, John, if you're running into the wind, that can have an effect as well, although we're hearing that that may not be an official time yet. And this will probably bring on a track hold, because it's kind of hard to run a race if you can't time it.
They're saying he's curly first. The jury will be, the jury wants to run these sleds quick, because this snow front is not going away. Rennie Spies, the legendary German coaches that responsible for the German team.
Next up, John Jackson of Great Britain, the Royal Marine Commando, 34 years old, and brand new brakeman Andy Matthews at 4 on the back of this GB1 sled. There he is.
Great start time in the first run for basically an all-star team that really haven't pushed a lot with each other. Get in, get down around the first curve. Not bad. We don't have any 5:13. There's our speed, some of the best speed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. The British have had a great 4-man season to date, but when you got to replace 2 of the guys, they bring 2 guys in and they still get good starts, and most importantly, they're getting in the sled like they've done a lot of dry land training. So I'm very impressed with the British program for the season, right now where we are.
Well, 5:13 getaway for second start of Andy Matthews. He's going to be really stoked about that. 95.2, 59.1 miles an hour. That's good speed as well. Still in the lead of the race. So this is going to guarantee him a top 8 if he can hold this pace down to the bottom.
200 separating him and Mahata in the first run. They aren't showing us exactly what happened, so we're looking at 55.48, 55.41.
That's a really good run.
Listen, the British are beating one of the top German pilots on a German track. That is, GB1 is really been impressive this year.
A 4-man world champion 2 seasons ago, Mahata. And John Jackson,
I'm impressed.
What a great crew. Stu Benson and Bruce Tasker have been together with Jacko before, but Andy Matthews on the back, brand new this weekend.
Yeah, for them to come out and compete in the first 50 meters like this, and then Jackson, he's done some very good driving, been very consistent driving the 4-man sled, more so than the 2-man.
The whole team has really come of age this season. It's an entirely different team almost. Names are the same, but the performances are astonishing. Next up, Dmitry Abramovich. He returns to Russia's World Cup lineup. They've got 2 different drivers in the World Cup. Alexei Stulnev, the rookie, but Abramovich, former brakeman, also 24 years old, returns as a driver for the second time.
All soldiers in the Russian army. Abramovich, former junior world champion. First time we've seen him in a couple of years. He was injured last year, spent a lot of time in the Europa Cup. He used to medal out in the 2009-10 season, 62.8. The British had 63.1.
So, yeah.
So that's speed difference.
Well, the British started 5:13, Abramovich only 5:20.
Well, that's why the speed was less, but Abramovich has got a few hundredths in the bank. And he drove well in the first run. Down to a dead heat. That's favors Abramovich because of the negative start time. He's already caught him back up.
Well, he's gone from being in front to being level,
this is
back in front again. 101.3.
These are good lines from a pilot who's won in the World Cup Tour before. Again, former junior world champion.
Good speed, better than almost anybody. The British sled was a fraction quicker, but not quite enough.
300s.
Well, do you know what? I'm sure they'll be pleased with the top 8 finish.
Abramovich will be pleased with that, his return to the World Cup. Look at the visor now. You're going to see nobody complaining about a vision problem.
No.
Nothing sticking to the visors.
A lot of them have got a double visor on. It acts like double glazing to stop your visor misting up from the ice-cold air coming over it.
And look at the aerodynamic profile. The guy in the back's really sitting up high. You see a lot of them. Into the finish here. Can we see any heads? Yeah, that brakeman's way up, and look at this. Iago and Peter still have the best speeds, although that was some pretty good speed right there from the Russians. Driving a Singer sled, the other Russians are driving Wimmer sleds. They got more sleds than a fleet of Hertz cars.
Yeah. Well, next up is the man who is our 4-man Olympic and world champion, Stephen Holcomb of the USA. Justin Olsen, Steve Langton, and Kurt Tomasevich, the crew of the night train.
5:12 in the first run, 63.4 kilometers. See him get in, get down. Boy, some good proficiency there. 5:12 again. He steers around there, speed in the left. 63.4. You talk about consistency. They went 5:12, 5:12, 63.4 both times. That's what 4-man bobsledding is all about. It's consistency. And Holcomb's going to need to have a perfect run coming down the track. He tapped there in the first run, remember? So he got through that albatross for him, and he's going to need a perfect run here to have a chance to medal.
700ths away from a medal in the first heat. 700ths of a second. Tiny margins, John.
Losing back a little bit of time. Good lines there. Watch the head slapping on the 85-mile-an-hour speeds down here at 11 and 12. Very smooth. 134.3.
83.5 miles an hour. He leads by 0.2 of a second. Now, is that enough to put him onto the medal podium? 6th off the first heat, but only 700ths away from 3rd.
He beat Abramovich by 1800ths that time.
Yeah.
But he beat Abramovich by 800ths at the start.
Yeah.
So
good drive.
Look at the spike marks in the back of Justin Olsen. That's a little competition tattoo.
Little sign of the dedication of these crews. Stephen Holcomb leads with 5 to go here. Dmitry Abramovich in 2nd spot. John Jackson of Great Britain in 3rd. And everybody else starting to look like yetis as the snow continues to cover everything in its path. And the track workers working like demons to keep this track raceable.
Crew done a fantastic job getting this race off in these blizzard conditions.
23-year-old Oskars Melbardis, only his 3rd year as a driver. He was a brakeman before, of course.
5:06 in the first run, but he skidded out of the first curve. 5:03, just 200ths off the start record. Watch the speed in the left. 63.8. He had 62 speed in the first heat because they made a mishap getting in the sled. Watch out if this guy gets this thing pointed in the right direction up here in the top part of the track, because the bottom part of the track, the sled basically can get down for you once he gets through curve 9. Boy, he's flying. It's all relative to the start.
He was 100th ahead of Stephen Holcomb in the first heat. He's 2400ths in front of him at the moment.
Here's the albatross, curve 9. If he's consistent through here, he'll be the leader. Yeah, he's through that last part. Huge.
Gaps coming down, not as quick as Holcomb at the bottom.
He might lose a few hundreds back. Probably going to be the leader, low teens. 14. Holcomb looks on, but Holcomb got beat at the start. Melbardis, that's start time. Watch out for this guy in Sochi. He's the best starter in 2-man. That's scary. That's the first time we've seen him put on that type of performance in 4-man. In the first heat, if he had this time in the first heat, he'd be up there challenging for the gold. Look at this. These are 4 NFL tight ends right here coming at us. Huge men. And then they all got to get in with cat-like movements into this, what we call this small little bathtub. And look at the speed. You know, Holcomb is one of the best in the world. And these guys just beat Holcomb pretty convincingly. Watch out in Sochi. This track might be made exactly for this guy right here.
4 sleds to go. Germany, Switzerland, Russia and Germany. First up, Thomas Florschutz, the 34-year-old, makes his World Cup debut. He's been racing in Europe so far this season after a pre-season injury.
They weren't that good around curve 1. 5:13 start speed, should be 63.3, 63.2. Look at that, he's half a kilometer plus down to the Latvian. It's going to be tough. He's going to have to be perfect. It's going to be tough for him to overcome that.
Yeah,
that's what the Latvians just did, might have the best time of the run.
Melbardis' drive was too good for everybody to assume that they can beat him.
The only way they have a chance to compete with Melbardis is if Melbardis has one good one and one bad one like he did in this heat, in this first heat. But Melbardis puts 2 together, he's going to be tough to beat. Florschutz won this event last year. He also won the 2-man event. Finished 4th yesterday in the 2-man, though, so he's looking to creep into the medals.
It's going to happen.
I don't know. Good speed. Got a chance.
Too far behind, surely. 500ths of a second. Melbardis remains in the leader's box with 3 to go. And Melbardis was only 600ths out of the medals in the first heat, John. It was so tight.
Melbardis beat him by 10 hundredths at the start. All things being equal, that's 30 hundredths at the bottom. Florschutz outdrove him totally, but here on this short 1,300-meter track, you got a push monster like Melbardis, his advantage every time. Look at the cohesion here. You know, this is choreography on ice. Look at the feet coming down at the same time. Now watch the guy on the right. You see a driver get in, the guy on the right next, the guy on the left next, the guy number 2 guy gets in, gets down. Watch their hands come up over the top. This is dry land training 200-300 times in the summer, in and down. Very proficient at the start, just not as good as the Latvians.
So, top 3 from the first heat. Third place, 34-year-old Bert Hefty won in the 2-man race yesterday. Can he do it again?
5:16 start. Look how quickly they're in.
Yeah, greased lightning.
5:13 tap, skid, 63.1. Now we know the Latvians had 7/10 or 6/10 on them. The 50 meters. He's probably going to be equal. Yeah, look at this. It's going to be tough for him to drive out of here, but the city of sleds, the Swiss sleds on this track, and 2-man and 4-man have been flying on the bottom, achieving best speeds in almost all of the heats, and that's big speed there.
Yep, quicker than anyone else.
This is the guy who won the 2-man event yesterday.
Up to 102 here would really help him. 101.6 is still quicker than anybody.
A lot of time, though.
Can he get 135 kilometers an hour out of this sled at the bottom? He's closing. Here he comes.
That's not smooth. Here he comes. I don't know. Going to be close.
Very tight indeed. Not enough. In the medals,
I said
Oskars Melbardis.
I said Melbardis is going to have the fastest time of the run. That's still up there. I don't know if anybody's going to get near it. Wow.
55.18 from Melbardis. 55.32 for Bert Hefty. He slips to 3rd behind Florschutz.
Well, he had 10 hundredths on him at the top. It's perfect drive he needs to come down the track to beat Melbardis. Watch the sled come at us to the left side here. That's not smooth. A lot of energy went into the right-hand wall. But Bert Hefty had a pretty good day winning the 2-man yesterday.
Now then, what about this streak? Alexander Zubkov, undefeated in 4-man this season, hasn't lost a heat. He lies 2nd. The 38-year-old Russian veteran was on really strong form in the 2-man, finishing in the silver medal position. There's Oskars Melbardis, our leader.
5:13 start. I mean, the Latvians 5:03. Snow's really coming in. Watch him getting. Look how quickly they're in. 5:07. Boy, they knew they had to go for it. Look at the speed he's got in the left. Boy, the Russians have the ability to say, okay, they just outpushed us. We got to push much better, and they did. Now he's got a pretty big lead here. With this equipment and this experience and that line right there, I think Zubkov's saying, I'm not worried about Melbardis. I'm worried about the next guy coming up. And he's only been beat once so far this year in a heat. That was in the first heat here. He got beat by 100. He won every single heat in North America. Oh, and he's pulling away.
Zubkov, with 15 years more ice experience than Melbardis, is going to teach this kid a thing or two.
Yeah, even though he started slower, the sled's on a rail, and he's flying on the bottom. This is the guy everybody's favorite in Sochi. Zubkov comes down the track, and that's a big-time run, 55.04. That'll give our Germans coming up, Max Arndt, something to shoot for.
Oh, yeah. Max Arndt is not going to win this one by just holding on. He's going to have to give it everything. There was only 100th between Zubkov and Arndt in the first heat. And Zubkov has come down just 200ths of a second slower than his first run. That was his shot for gold.
Could it be the start? The Russians went from 5:13 to 5:07. The Germans started 5:15 in the first run. They're going to need to bring that start time down to 5:11, 5:12.
They're going to be in single digits to give him a chance.
Maybe a 5:11 will give him a chance. If they were up there 5:13, 5:15, then we look at that speed on the left, that 63.6 that Zubkov just had. And watch, this team, though, is very proficient at the start. Let's listen and watch how quickly they'll get in. Look how quickly these guys are in and down around that first curve. 5:11, there's the number I wanted, 63.5, 63.7. This team is the best team at getting in the sled and getting down quickly. This is how Arndt manufactured a 100th lead in the first, but look at this, he's 400ths behind. Zubkov has won all of these races up on the top part of the track. Now he's 8 back. I don't think he can overcome that. I think now he's going to slide into a silver medal, and everybody's going to go, what is Zubkov doing on the top part of these tracks that's beating everybody?
Speeds are not as good as Zubkov all the way down. The gap is just growing wider.
Yeah.
This is another race that Germany are not going to win at home.
Fall more back. No, he looks like he's solidly in silver medal position.
Silver medal, but it is gold for Alexander Zubkov. 4 for 4. Like Cayley Humphries, he keeps his streak alive. Steve Holcomb couldn't in the 2-man yesterday. The bobsled competitions have had the same winner in every race weekend in North America. However, it's only Cayley Humphries and Alexander Zubkov who keep their streaks alive when we get to European ice. Max Arndt and his crew, Alex Mann, Alex Rödinger and Martin Putzer, they take the silver medal on the podium for Germany ahead of Oskars Melbardis, Daumann Striskins, Arvis Vilksant and Intars Dambis. And I think that is Melbardis' first World Cup podium. I'm sure John will find out when we get to talk to them. Well, Arndt gave it everything he had. There's Zubkov's crew. Alexei Negadalo and Maxim Makrusov. Dmitry Trenenkov you saw there. And I'm sure the boss is in the background there, Alexander Zubkov. Well, this is the 4-man crew. They really knew they had to turn it on. 5:13 first start, certainly very respectable. Zubkov said, boys, I need more. They gave him more. 5:07 getaway in the second heat. And that gave him the opportunity to drive like an angel. The demon start and the angelic drive. Pierre Luder's a happy man, as is Alexander Zubkov. 4 for 4. His 100% season in 4-man continues. Confirmation then of that result. Trail by 100th, wins by 1900ths. Overturns Max Arndt by 0.2 of a second. Oskars Melbardis comes from 5th to 3rd place. Stephen Holcomb in 6th spot, the world and Olympic 4-man champion. John Jackson in Great Britain in 8th, and Justin Cripps top 10 finish in the 4-man, his first time here on the Winterberg track. Well, plenty of excitement and drama, and we will catch up with our winners in just a few moments. Stay with us here in Winterberg.
Hallo, fällt ins Fass raus. Das neue alkoholfreie Erfrischungsgetränk mit wenig Kalorien. In der isotonischen Geschmacksrichtung Zitrone und der fruchtigen Sorte Holunder. Nimm über gestern. Heute ist Fällt ins Fass raus.
fourth World Cup of the season sees Alexander Zubkov retain his perfect score, 4 for 4 in the four-man competition. He leaves Stephen Holcomb behind him in the World Cup rankings. Max Arndt just ahead of Manny Mahata, courtesy of a podium finish here. And John Jackson of Great Britain still in a strong 5th position, ahead of Nick Cunningham, the rookie, 6th in the World Cup rankings. And Justin Cripp's top 10 finish here for Canada puts him in 14th spot. Some very interesting times in the world of bobsled, just some 15 months out from the next Winter Olympic Games. But this man, of course, is going to hope to start on home ice in four-man and in two-man if he can. Silver yesterday in the two-man, but four-man gold today for Alexander Zubkov. He keeps his streak alive, and the question now continues, who is going to be the first to beat him? Well, let's catch up with our top three. Ostis Melbardis, Max Arndt and Alexander Zubkov there with John Morgan.
Down here on the finish line, the flowers are being distributed in the flower ceremony, and the beauty of this is our winner, Alexander Zubkov, has got his daughter Mila with him, which is a beautiful personal touch. Mila, nice to see you here with your father. Okay, third place, though. Third place for the Latvians, Oscar Melbardis. The start time today. Start time. But good drive.
Jā, nu, atliek nobraukt divus daudzums vienādus braucienus, un tad jau varam izcīnīt kaut ko vairāk kā desmitnieku. Prieks otro gadu pēc kārtas šeit izcīnīt trešo vietu, tā kā, nu, esam priecīgi.
He's impressed for the day. The weather, of course, played havoc with everybody, but bronze medal, congratulations. Now over to team Max Arndt. He's got a lot of veteran guys behind him here. Max, looked like you had good start, good drives both times.
Ja, also der Tag heute war wesentlich besser. Klar, die Jungs haben einen großartigen Job oben gemacht. Es ist halt Schnee, da muss man mal schauen, dass man gut durchkommt. Es war sehr, sehr gut. Alexander war leider wieder zu stark heute für uns, aber wir sind auf jeden Fall nah rangerückt und wir werden in den nächsten Rennen versuchen, ihn zu schlagen.
Yeah, he says everything was very good. Of course, the weather impacted things, but happy with a silver medal. Congratulations. Now, Russia. In the first run, you were second. Every other run, first place, and you're with your daughter.
Yeah. Спасибо всем. Конечно, ребята второй заезд показали, на что они способны. И мы вчистую выиграли эту гонку. Всех поздравляю, кто у нас болел. И дальше болейте. Надейтесь на нас, мы всегда победим.
Very humble Zubkov, deflects a lot of it to everybody else, and congratulations. Here comes
Alexander
the beer.
Zubkov continues, keeps it 4 for 4. He leads the World Cup rankings with a perfect season so far. The snow of Winterberg not enough to distract him. Well, 2 beautiful days of weather, 1 day of snow, but Winterberg produced exciting racing throughout. Join us next week when we head to La Plagne in the French Alps for World Cup stop number 5.
Even if it doesn't go over.
Наверху, давайте.